everybody. What's happening? It's Blair Johnson with the Badass Records podcast, here to remind you what this thing is about, and that is you and some of your favorite records. Also here to remind you there's plenty of ways to support the podcast should you choose to do so. One, like, subscribe, follow on YouTube, wherever you stream your audio, or on the Twitters and Instagrams. If you want to buy some merch, that's another good way to support. The site is badassrecordspodcast.com. Get yourself a hoodie, stocking cap, a coffee mug, what have you. Last but not least, be a guest. Hit me up on email, badassrecordspodcast@gmail.com, or DM me on the socials, Instagram or Twitter, and we'll see if we can't get you in the chair. Appreciate you stopping by. Hope you enjoy the show.
That's my little rant,
Yeah.
I guess.
So, Mark Verbeck, one half of Scotch Hollow.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
I really
for having
appreciate
me.
it. So we're all things doing what they're supposed to do. This would be episode 116 of Badass Records podcast. Appreciate you sharing a bit of your Saturday with me.
Thanks for having me.
So Scotch Hollow, an acoustic roots band that marries down-home Delta blues with good old-fashioned country twang and silky vocals. Third time in very recent weeks that the Berklee College of Music has come up. And you and your partner Carly met there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've always, the very little that I've read about it, put it in this box that says, prestigious and expensive and hard to get into. And yet the two of you crossed paths there.
Absolutely.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you guys have ScotchHollowMusic.com, Instagram, Facebook, Reverb Nation, Bandcamp, iTunes, YouTube, Apple Music,
Spotify. All those things, yeah.
Central PA.
Yeah.
For you. Siblings?
Yeah, I have two.
Okay. Where are you in the pecking order?
Youngest.
So
they're technically half siblings. We
Sure.
We have the same dad.
Okay.
But we never saw it that way.
Right. Yeah.
So I am the youngest. My sister is the oldest, then my brother.
Okay.
Who is just a little younger than her. He's about 9 years older than me.
Okay.
And she's like 11 years older than me.
Okay.
Something around there.
So bio mom and bio dad, do you know how their paths crossed? How they met? For you?
My mom and dad, they were teachers at a high school.
Okay, in Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and they met through work.
Okay.
Yeah.
And were you guys were they under the same roof long enough for you to have any memories from your youth of listening to music growing up?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I had a big relationship with my sister.
Okay.
And I had a relationship with my brother too. But me and my sister she took care of me a lot, and I went with her to a lot of places.
Cool.
When I was young.
Yeah.
So my sister has a great influence on me as a person.
Nice.
And man, she still is, but she was cool because she took me with her friends. They would ride skateboards, and there was this giant half pipe on somebody's property, and when they go, and I'd just sit and watch them skate. And
sister was a skater.
A little bit,
Rad.
yeah, and into the Cure and kind of that 80s kind of
Okay.
big hair thing. And,
Yeah.
And, but this is great. This is a good segue into, because I know I had to send you some of my favorite albums.
Yeah, which we'll get to.
Well, one of them that's on the list is because of her.
Okay.
And it's funny because, like, the album's Blood Sugar Sex Magik by the Chili Peppers, and like
it's a skaterific record.
That band made me realize that I love music.
Really?
Oh yeah. So I remember that it came out 91. So I'm like 8 years old at that point, and she had it, and we listened to it. When we went to places.
CD?
No, it's cassette.
Cassette?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Like in the car going places, or with a boombox once you got there?
In the car.
Okay.
Yeah. And I love that album. And so this is very like early 90s thing here is I begged my mom, like, I want to get this CD, but they had a parental advisory sticker on it. So she was like, nope, can't do it, parental advisory sticker. And I'm like crushed. And I'm like, what if it doesn't have a parental advisory sticker? If it doesn't have that sticker, fine. So a lot of their older albums didn't have that sticker on it. Or, yeah, there was the whole like Walmart not selling music unless it was edited out.
Yeah.
Did you remember that time?
So the PMRC, the parental music record. It's a Tipper Gore, Al Gore's wife, shoved it through Congress, and all of a sudden, and then John Denver and Dee Snider from Twisted Sister and Frank Zappa all went and just destroyed Congress.
I've seen footage of I remember. Anyways, I digress. So I bought like their old albums. So and I bought them on cassette tape, and I remember I had like Freaky Styley and Mother's Milk and the What Hits album, which is all the hits, couple off of Blood Sugar Sex Magik, but all the way back to the 80s. Uplift Mofo Party Plan.
Yeah.
And I loved those tapes.
Cool.
I fucking listened to them over and over and over in the car. I had a cassette player with headphones, and that was when I discovered I love music.
Nice. So she's the oldest then brother than you?
Yep.
And what was did your brother have his own collection of things that he was into music wise?
Yeah, he had a few things. He kind of like, we didn't really start our age gap, kind of like when he was in high school and things like that, he kind of was doing his own thing.
Sure. Yeah.
Which, that's understandable.
Yeah.
And we became more friends like as I got older in high school.
Gotcha.
And I was able to kind of go out and hang out a little bit.
Figure out who you are a little bit.
Yeah.
What about mom and dad or step parent? Any artists that they were into that stick out?
At the time, like now, like Johnny Cash.
Okay.
A lot of old Patsy Cline.
Cool.
My dad loved Chuck Berry.
Nice.
Waylon Jennings.
It's your cousin, Marvin Berry.
Right, yeah. It's a great scene. And they also listen to a lot of like bad music that I didn't like either, but
sure.
A lot of good old country, and some old rock and roll. And that was pretty much their thing mostly when I was younger. But, my dad now, like, really loves the blues. And,
okay.
Oh, yeah. And we talk about the blues all the time, and he's watching documentaries and just consuming a lot of information about it.
Nice.
Uh, he likes some old like ZZ Top and stuff like that, the old like blues rockers.
Heck yeah.
So
The most underrated trio of all time, in my opinion. I mean,
man, unless you've seen them, then you know.
right. Speaking of, what about concerts in youth? Did you get out to see live music and anything that stands out?
Absolutely. There was a small like venue over in the college town, literally over the mountain from me. And I went to see, so let me think here. Probably when I was 14, 15, it started with like my mom letting me go because my sister would take me.
Yeah.
And this also started, well, she would take me over to see some of these shows, which basically, like, I mean, we just did what we wanted, you know?
Yeah.
She was, so, oh man, one of, like, the big, I mean, there's a lot. I got a ton of memories. But one of the shows that she took me to, with my friends was the Misfits and Guar.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it was, Michael Graves' Misfits.
Okay.
Which, he did a good job. Credit's credit due.
Yeah.
It was a good show. I mean, it was an excellent show, but like it was like, I don't know, man. Just the some of the first experiences of being in like a pit and being like where it's so packed where you just have to move with the crowd and you can't like do anything about it. And then like I loved crowd surfing when I was younger. Oh man, like I lived for that shit. Because I liked a lot of metal and stuff and punk and all that. Those energetic shows when I was young. And a lot of that stuff, a lot of those bands would come through that area and play at that bar. And it was one of the only places that had like all ages shows.
Sure.
For this type of music. And I remember like at that show, like going up and there was a circle that had opened and they're passing me around and like this is like a small like there's no like security that's gonna pull you over and then walk you out to the crowd. You just like float until you finally go down. And they passed me over to the edge and like they threw you and there's this big open circle there with no one in there and they just threw me and I was just stand there with your hands up in the air and, imagine being that height of the, probably some of the tallest people in the room. So probably a good 7 feet.
Right.
8 feet, which is not the biggest fall, but it's not the smallest either, and they threw me and I just went on my back and I just remember like just getting the wind knocked out of me and just kind of like getting kind of razzled up a little bit and being like, holy shit, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
But then you're young and you just get this like, you shake it off and you're like, yeah, and you get back up and you just keep going for it. And then there's partially me being like, I'm fine. I'm not going to tell my mom. She's not going to find out. I'm fine.
Right. Exactly.
Like forcing yourself to be okay because I want to do this again. I want to come back to more shows. And then, kept going. Guar came on. It was fucking insane. Like, it was just in a small environment, like that. Got covered in all the fake blood and cum and all the shit. And David Brocky brought out the big fucking dildo thing.
Wow.
Like,
probably some shit you weren't 1,000% you understand what's happening.
No, I understood.
Oh, okay.
Believe me.
Yeah.
If there's one It's like one thing I learned from my older brother.
There you go. Okay. So I think from the Scotch Hollow music.com, I think I poached this little tidbit about a Fender steel guitar was a gift from grandma. Am I remembering correctly?
Yes.
And is that your sort of launching off point in the world of musicianship? Is that the first time you had instruments prior to that?
No. So that's my jumping off for, playing my slide style.
Okay.
That pretty much is my little niche I've kind of carved out for myself with Scotch Hollow.
Okay.
But it's not the beginning of me playing music.
Okay, what is?
Technically is, school band way back in elementary school.
Sure.
But
what'd you play?
Saxophone.
Okay. And stuck with that.
Sax? Well, until about 7th grade. Didn't like the band instructor. She was kind of a grouch, so I quit. But shortly thereafter, started playing music in my friend's basement. And I wanted to play drums first.
Okay.
But my other friend wanted to play drums.
But there was a kit in this basement?
No, he got the drums first. This is his basement. Okay. So, and then I started playing guitar. And we played in his basement for years, just playing songs. And then eventually
Just self-taught, both of you?
Basically, yeah.
Wow.
Just kind of figuring. Believe me, I remember the very beginning playing stuff very wrong.
Sure.
But we didn't care.
Yeah.
We were just, it was awesome. We were playing. And the songs, we knew how to play like a couple Misfits songs.
Oh, wow.
The whole way through. And
solid. And
we would just play them over and over and over again. And my friend would just scream into the microphone, but eventually my drummer friend, because me and him were, and he still is like one of my best friends in life, right?
Yeah.
And especially at that point when we're both like young, and he auditioned with some guys from like the next town over who were writing this metal music.
Nice.
And he told him, I have this guy that plays guitar with me. I want, if you want me to play with you guys, he has to come too. And they agreed to let me audition, and I auditioned and just like, I got in and all these things.
Nice.
Because I committed to being the headbanging crazy guy.
Yeah.
And we started playing with these other guys, and we started this metal band. And that was a wonderful experience.
I bet. And you're still 15, 16, somewhere in there, or no?
Yeah, around like 15, 16, and then 17, 18, and then once I went to college, it ended up kind of fizzling out. But like, man, we were pretty good, and we played. It was like this little mini like music scene popped up in Little Podunk Nowhere, Pennsylvania. Yeah. And we would be playing gigs every weekend, and it was from like bars to backyards and gazebos to out in the strip mines with a generator.
Oh, wow.
I remember those gigs, like playing the gig one time when we're tearing down. And the cops came as we're tearing down. I'm like, has my friend's cymbal, and that's a whole nother story. Like,
not supposed to be there.
Well, we dropped it and ran because we're underage. So
was there booze being?
Absolutely.
Okay.
This is fucking what's a party, man.
Yeah. So like, what does the leap from Central PA to Berkeley? College of Music which is Boston, right?
Right.
But what does that process look like?
Well, I took lessons from a guy, and he was just an amazing like guitar player. He was one of in that college town I told you about, which is called State College, where Penn State University is.
Yeah.
There was a guy who played there, and he he was known around town. He was just one of the top guys in the town.
Okay.
You know, and I studied under him, and that's when I started learning, different scales and things like that. Started learning the technical stuff. And, well, there's a few parts of this story. So I have my sister, her now ex-husband, but throughout my growing up, he was the boyfriend, then the husband, and then they had a child with, so my nephew and all of that. But he's the reason that I decided to pursue the path to begin with.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And
you've remained tight even though they're not together anymore? Or?
Oh yeah, like we still text here and there.
Cool.
There went a long time when we didn't talk. Not because we didn't talk. It's just like I went to college and I'm very bad with communicating with people, and living life and
got busy with life.
And he's living his life,
Yep.
doing cool stuff, and he was. So I could go on a whole rant about him, but he's the guy that like when I said before, meeting and interacting with people whom or from different cultures, and being able to just, be open and be just a human being with a human being.
Sure.
He's the one that like sat me down and said, if you want to pursue music, you can pursue music if you want to. And I was like, no, I can't. He's like, no, seriously, you can't. I'm like, really? Because I'm like, everybody where I grew up, it's like, you work, blue collar jobs, which is nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But it was just like, there wasn't like a thriving music community where I grew up.
Sure.
Right. So it's a lot of people who, were raised in this area and they saw there was a certain way to like get by in life. And so most people are like, well, those things happen to other people. We just
go to work and pay the bills and repeat rents.
Right. And so he's the guy that broke that mold for me. Cool. So that started there. And back to like when I'm taking the lessons and stuff, I found like I'm taking from this guy, and it's getting close to like when I'm graduating and going to college, and my mom and dad were like, you're gonna go to college, I don't care what you do, you're just gonna get at least a bachelor's degree. And that was my choice. And then I found out about the Berklee College of Music from my guitar instructor, and then I was like, wait, you can go to college for music and playing guitar and stuff? He's like, well, yeah, but it's expensive and all these things.
As I imagined, yeah.
And so I went to my parents. My mom was like, super expensive, I don't know about this. They didn't like really, I don't know what me being like, I want to go to school for music. I think their initial thought were like, okay, you'll probably get there and change your mind or something like that. And they didn't want to invest, into something where they thought maybe it wouldn't last.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Smart folks.
Yeah. And
I mean, it's logical. How about that, right?
You can say that. But there was a state school in Pennsylvania that had a really great music program, and my mom was like, well, you can do a music major here, and you go here for a year or two and prove that like you're gonna do this, and maybe we can consider transferring.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, well, that's what I'm gonna do then. Went back to my.
She's like, shit. It didn't work.
Went back to my guitar instructor. I'm like, well, this is what I gotta do. I gotta go to this college first, and if I make it there, I can transfer to Berklee. And he was like, oh, well, that college is like it's all classical music. Like, you have to play classical guitar. And I'm like, okay, cool. And he's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I'm serious. I have and I'm kind of like mixing a few things together, but like I have an audition in a couple months, and like being now that I'm an adult, thinking back on it, it's just like thank God I was just kind of a stupid kid, not stupid kid, but a kid who was more willing to be like, fuck it, I'm gonna,
fearless.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, um, I want to do that, and I got this audition, and he's like, are you? Because at this point, I was like the rock and roll metal kid. Because you can imagine from his point of view, like I'm this just kid, like being like, yeah, man, blah blah. I want to play metal and rock and all this cool stuff. And then one day I'm like, all right, I'm gonna play classical now. He's just like, what? But I said, you know what? You just teach me. Just teach me what I need to do to get through the door. And he said, all right. And we bought a book, which was, it's called Giuliani Revisited, which is a book. It's right hand exercises to get you started playing with your fingers. And this book has been published since like what, 1800, 1700. Wow. It's very old publication of guitar techniques. And it's really good because it gets you started with that technique, and it helps break down these different techniques. So he's like, first do these. We're going to pick out some of these exercises. You do these. And then we got these two like introductory songs. The da 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 da.
Yeah.
You know that one. Bach, I believe. I'm sorry if I'm getting that wrong. And I learned that tune and another tune and just grinded it and just practiced every day and grinding my ass off and learned it. I passed the audition and I got accepted to that.
Nice.
And in that place, I went in, and it's, don't know what the fuck you're doing, but you're staying 2 steps ahead of, so it looks like,
Yeah.
And, started learning under this guy named Irving Kaufman, who was like he was a cellist for the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra, one of the head cellists, I think.
Kaufman spelled the same way as
I believe so.
Okay.
I believe so. And he was an interesting old guy. Loved him to death. Because, he said to me, I'm very animated, and it may sound like I'm yelling at you, but I'm not really yelling at you. But, this is just how I am. And I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
If you're honest about it.
Yeah.
And so with him, I went there for 2 years, and I studied under him and learned classical guitar, and learned this one piece called Leyenda, which is by shit, I'm forgetting his name. Andre Segovia.
Okay.
Who is the godfather of flamenco classical guitar.
Oh, fun.
And this is a very famous piece.
Yeah.
But it took me I don't know, a year to learn this song.
Damn.
Just taking it piece by piece.
That's impressive.
Committing it to
you
memory.
Stuck with it as a college freshman?
Yeah, because there's nothing else to do. Because it was this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to get the fuck out of this area, and I'm going to do it this way. So I better practice every night. Wow. So I did. And eventually I learned that piece. Of course, I learned other songs, other pieces as well.
Yeah.
And I learned that piece, and then that's when I also started learning music theory and stuff. I didn't know anything about it, but it was kind of crazy. But
was that boring, or was it exciting, or
I love it. I love music theory, and it was kind of boring at first, but once it started clicking and I started really getting it, oh yeah, I loved it.
Nice.
And they were like going to that school particularly, like there were moments in my theory classes that just like opened me up to like to the, I guess, like how much of a genius some of the like classical composers,
Sure.
like from a theory perspective, and
Yeah.
how like they were just fucking masters of that. Like they wrote the rules of music theory based upon what they did, basically. So obviously, you know.
Yeah.
But doing stuff like that really opened me up, and I liked it. It was exciting.
Cool.
And learned to play that song. Played it for my parents. I'm like, look, and they're kind of like, oh,
He's still serious about
he's
this.
fucking serious, isn't he? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fucking serious. So we started applying to Berkeley, and then during the
After 1 year at the state school? Or
yeah,
Okay.
well, I left after 2, but after the first year
start the process.
started
Gotcha.
the process.
Yeah.
At that time, we had to make a audition tape to get in, and you know, it was just kind of like a Hail Mary, like I don't care, I'm gonna do this. So I did, and then I ended up getting in.
Wow.
And
do you remember where you were when you found out that you had gotten in?
I believe so. I was in this house I was living in with you know a bunch of good friends who were a bunch of knuckleheads.
Yeah.
And I remember, yeah, I was in my room in the basement,
Okay.
and yeah, that's about it. I just remember the big feeling of relief of
Was
like,
it a piece of mail or an email message or what?
I think it was a piece of mail.
Okay.
And I think maybe my mom told me because
Okay. Shit was still going to their house or her house. Or
yeah,
whatever.
this is like 2001, 2002.
Okay.
So like, I wasn't an emailer so much yet.
Right.
You know, text messaging wasn't even
Right.
really a big thing
Right.
yet.
So Berkeley after 2 years, and then is the program at Berkeley itself 4, and so did stuff transfer relatively easily for you, or?
Some of my prerequisites transferred, but that's it. I still had to do 4 years.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And which is fine. Like, I got 2 extra years of education.
Yeah.
It's fucking great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Heck
even,
yeah.
I mean, even if, like, okay, it doesn't, like, really, as far as, like, I got a bachelor's degree, and, like, those extra 2 years doesn't really get me any step higher within that hierarchy.
Okay.
But that's fine. Like, the realistic side of it is, like, the knowledge that I ascertained from those 2 extra years on top of what I did at Berkeley. Like, it was, at the end of the day, it was, like, I don't know, a blessing. It was a good thing.
Cool.
You know?
Cool.
And, yeah, it was a feeling of like, yes, I'm getting out. You know? Like, I'm going to go up to Boston and I'm going to learn how to play and I'm going to do stuff.
So you're in Boston for 4 years.
Yeah.
And like, I'm assuming you liked it?
Yeah, I did. There was a point that like, I'm still like, I've learned that like, I grew up in a rural atmosphere, although at this point in my life, I might be more urban than rural. But at that point, you know, the bigness of Boston was like, the hustle and bustle was, I tolerated it.
Okay.
But it got to me a little bit. And
Sure.
at the end of, I just wanted to get out of that. But I ended up in more hustle and bustle anyways, so like...
Right.
So... But yeah, I do have a special place in my heart in Boston.
Cool.
I have some fucking amazing memories
I
there.
bet.
Yeah.
And you met your future wife.
Yep.
How deep into your 4-year program do you guys connect?
Oh, we met right around the beginning of it. Right when...
And was she starting at the same time? Or had she
we
been there?
we both started the same year.
Okay.
And she had kind of a similar story. Like
Okay.
she went to KU for a year, and then she transferred to Berkeley.
Right on.
She was going with her friend who also went to Berkeley, and her friend turned out to be someone who lived in the dorms with me, and I befriended him, you know, independently.
Yeah.
him and his other roommate, we all became good buddies, and we, we would all go to school, do our shit, and usually at the end of the day, we would all meet up and go to the Charles River to smoke a joint or something. And that was like what we did at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And we would sit there and hang out and just like, it was fun, you know? So then one night, my friend Nick said, I'm going to, my friend from home goes to school here too, and I'm going to bring her and her friends with me. And we went down to do our routine down at the Charles, and he brought my now wife with him. And that's where we met. And the funny part is my wife befriended another girl who then became his wife.
Oh, wow.
It's really kind of, I've never really like pointed that out to him, but like there's this weird, like, I don't know, almost serendipitous, like.
Well, there's a lot of stars aligning kind of things.
Right.
Just in your piece of the journey. I mean, that's
right.
cool. That's cool.
Right. And, we like, was kind of resistant for a few years because, I don't know, when I first met her, I just knew that, like, if I, like, won, I was like, man, I couldn't get a girl like that. Holy fuck, dude, she's beautiful. But then there was, like, this immediate, like, I don't know, I just knew as if, like, if I went and, if I committed right away, like, that'd be it.
Sure.
Because, like, she's pretty amazing, and it sounds kind of weird, but, like, so I resisted her for a while because in my mind, I'm like, well, I'm living in the big city in college. I want to be, like, I don't want to be, in a relationship the whole time.
Sure.
Which, it is what it is, and it all ended up for the good.
Good.
In the end.
Good. So let's see. A self-titled EP from 2014 on the Scotch Hollow Bandcamp. A 9-track LP from the following year called Raging Bull and a Chicken Wire Pen. And then Little Tortuga, an 11-track album from 2017. Those are all on the Scotch Hollow Bandcamp page. You can buy
go
them,
to Spotify
and check them out there
or
too.
iTunes or whatever. I mean, most people are on some sort of streaming service, so
you
can go there.
So EP was recorded at Rax Trax in Chicago. You're Central PA, Boston, and Chicago's your next stop?
Well, actually, Nashville was our next stop.
Okay.
And then we went to Chicago.
You two went together from Boston to Nashville?
Yeah.
What was it, just because the music scene, or what was going on there?
Partially, yeah. I mean, mostly, yeah, but my wife had a internship with Lost Highway Records through Berkeley.
Okay.
And, she wanted to, like, she got a job with them, and so we wanted to move down there so she could have that job. And I was playing slide, and people were like, oh, you go to Nashville and play slide, you get work all the time. Well, like, yeah, if you play like Nashville slide, I like old blues, Delta blues type slide and stuff like that. And so she ended up getting a job at Universal Music Group. And,
oh wow, okay.
And we lived there for a year. I got a job with Gibson, buffing guitars. Yeah, it was very hard. And at that time, we don't need to go down that rabbit hole, but I was working for them.
Yeah.
And, it was just not, how you get that feeling when a place isn't your home?
Uh-huh.
And you just know it isn't right.
Yep.
It's just, there's a lot of little things, but like that basically was it. It was kind of it just didn't, I don't know what it was.
Sure.
It just didn't feel like home.
So Nashville for a year, and then how do you guys wind up in Chicago?
Well, she decided that she didn't want to work at Universal Music Group anymore because there would have been a conflict of interest with what we were doing with our music.
Oh. Okay.
And the atmosphere, that's another kind of
Sure.
reason why we didn't stay in Nashville, because some of the, like, I don't know, like, when we go down there and, like, you have people that you graduated with and stuff like that who also go down there, and they're all trying to get a hold of my wife and wanting to, like, go out to dinner and do all this shit. And, like, we'll go out to dinner, and um, they'll all be, like, talking to her, and, like, it's almost like I wasn't there. And it just became very apparent that, like, oh, you don't really give a shit about us. You just want to fucking. She works at Universal. You just want to be. That's all that's going on here.
I see.
Like, you want to schmooze her. Like,
Yeah.
This is all business.
Yeah.
This is not about being, you know, human beings having a moment together, eating some food, and so I mean that's just one of the, like, it's just that kind of, like, vibe. And you know what? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I missed some stuff. Maybe there's some people will be like, let me show you this and that, and I'm going to show you that, like, it's not really like that.
Right.
But I'm open to
that. That was your experience.
But that was
though.
just my experience, right? You
Yeah.
know? So, and at the time, my wife started doing makeup professionally, which she has been doing that, like, makeup and stuff her whole life.
Oh,
And
wow.
She met a woman in Nashville who helped her kind of start her career doing makeup, and she decided, like, if she wanted to really do the makeup thing, and she had to get her hair license, the really, like, so she could be the full package.
Esthetician or whatever? Or
No, like, for, like photo shoots and movie sets, and, like,
Gotcha.
she's very good at, like, and I'm sorry if I'm getting this wrong, but she's good at, like, the natural look, I guess.
Okay.
And just, like, is doing someone's makeup for an interview or whatever. She has a laundry list of, like, celebrities and politicians and shit she had to do while we were there. Like,
Okay.
she did very good in her career.
In Nashville, or you're in Chicago now?
Both.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
But when we went to Chicago with her makeup career, like, she's fucking baller. Man.
Nice.
Like,
very nice.
Like, she, like, two situations of two different cities where, like, where she was like, I'm gonna do this, and, like, she just, like, kicks complete ass. I'm gonna go to Nashville and work for this music company, and then she just gets a job with the biggest fucking music company down there, and then she's like, oh well, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna go do makeup now. And we went to Chicago, and, like, she just fucking slaughtered it.
Nice.
Like, she got with an agency, and just, like, dude, like, she's fucking baller.
Nice.
when it comes to, like, when she sets her mind to, like, some sort of business or occupation that she wants to do, like, look out, man. And she's like,
it's another Back to the Future reference. If you set your mind to it, you can accomplish anything.
yeah, right.
So while in Chicago, you record at Rax Tracks, the Raging Bull, at Strobe Recording, which, FYI, in case you don't know, that link on it doesn't go. He doesn't do that anymore, I don't think.
Okay.
But whatever. And then Tortuga is recorded in rural Kansas. So Nashville for a year, Chicago for how long?
8 years.
8 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we spent a good chunk of time there.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
was fun.
That's where my daughter and I are going tonight.
Oh, yeah?
I've one of my sisters is up there. Yeah.
You're going tonight?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess it's only, like, not even 2 yet.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Exactly.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
That's a drive.
Well, we're flying.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean-
Yeah. It's like a 45-minute flight.
Yeah.
It's, like, super. Yeah.
8 years.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, man. Good memories there.
I
And
bet.
Made some amazing friends. Friends that officiated our wedding.
Cool.
You know? And just, I don't know. Had some good musical memories. And, of course, like, I call Chicago my second education.
Oh, wow. Life education?
That, of course.
Outside the classroom?
I mean, of course, yeah. I mean, any rural country kid moving to any big city, you're going to learn a few things.
Yeah.
You're going to grow
Well,
up.
Boston and Nashville aren't tiny towns.
No. And you're going to grow. You're going to grow up.
Yeah.
And it's anyways, like
so she's Universal, and okay, now I'm going to do makeup. This is in Nashville, but then you guys go to Chicago. She's still doing makeup, and you guys are writing and recording and gigging and
doing all that, and I'm teaching lessons and just like hustling. Like, just we wanted to make our life off of music and makeup. For me, just I wanted to do music and concentrate on my art and do whatever I could to make that happen.
Cool.
So, when we lived there, we got our apartments, we split the rent, and like just hustled ass until to get my side of things to come in, and we just made it work.
Cool. I mean, 8 years is not a tiny chunk of time, and
No.
but then what takes you to rural Kansas?
Oh, this is where she grew up.
Okay.
And, while we were in Chicago is when we got married in 2014. And
10-year anniversary this year.
Yeah, 10-year anniversary for our marriage.
Right.
And like 17 something year anniversary for us
Together.
being together.
Yeah.
So eventually we knew we wanted to start a family eventually.
Yeah.
So either rural Pennsylvania or Kansas City. Kansas City was kind of the pick because we're still pursuing music and doing those things. So we chose to come here.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how we got here.
But where are you? It says rural Kansas. Where is that?
You mean as far as where we recorded?
Oh, that's you're living in KC, but you recorded someplace rurally. Is that accurate?
No.
Oh.
I don't. No. We lived on her family farm when we first got here.
Her family farm.
Yeah, which is down in Edgerton.
Okay.
And we lived there for about a year, which wasn't really conducive with what we were trying to do because, like, I got a job teaching at School of Rock in Lee Summit. So driving from there to Lee Summit was a hike.
Yeah.
And then I would, gig in the city, and eventually we started doing Uber a little bit to kind of supplement. And
hustling still.
Oh, yeah. And that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
And eventually, it progressed to we moved up closer to the city.
Sure.
With her parents. Then along came our first child eventually. And then I had to get a big boy job. And,
sure.
Yeah. Went back to school, did a little 6-month program to learn how to write code.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then that turned into our house. So
there you go.
That's kind of the progression.
Nice.
As we got here. But I think that's where the rural Kansas part comes from, is we started living out at the farm and writing some of the Little Tortuga album there. And we recorded it at this time, our bass player's basement.
Okay.
And he had, microphones and Pro Tools and the stuff, and we tracked it there. And we took it to a studio. Shit, I'm forgetting your name. His name's Dwayne. I'm forgetting your studio name, dude. I'm sorry.
It's you guys credit a lot of folks on the Bandcamp page, so I'm sure it's there.
Yeah. We took it to him to mix it and master it, and he mixed it. I think he mastered it. I don't remember, but yeah, that's how that went.
Okay. That
was kind of the low budget way because we wanted to make that album a little bit bigger sounding than the other albums, because the other albums were we went to the studio and we had the band and we did things more live. And where the Tortuga album, we did it track by track and kind of pieced it together.
Okay. And then did a tour in support of it.
Yeah.
How many towns, cities are we talking for that?
We toured all the time. Like, it was never like we just kind of we would book gigs and always kind of go out, and we went out for the album, but like I wouldn't say we were organized enough to have like, oh, this is, well, actually I take that back. We did, because our drummer on that album is also he promotes music. I don't know if he still does this, but he was promoting music on like college jazz radio stations.
Cool.
And he was a publisher basically. So we, paid him and had him, connect to his contacts, and we got some radio interviews and stuff across the country, across our touring area, not across the whole country. And then we kind of toured around some of those stops and promoted things that way. But a lot of times, like, I don't know, I just wanted to be out on the road playing, so I just was booking stuff, whatever I could get.
Typically a blast, touring, playing gigs.
Oh yeah, it's adventures of a lifetime.
Yeah.
But like, I got a lot of memories, but not much to show for it, but I'm not complaining because those are great memories.
Yeah.
And a good life experience. Yeah. But we would also, I don't know, we would decide, all right, we're going to go out on the road this chunk of time, and I would just build the tour around like where I could just get gigs, and then, there were then it turned into the places where we kind of started building contacts and we could regularly go.
Cool.
And then it starts to be a little bit of a route, and then it turns into like a lot of weekend runs playing in the city that in Chicago and stuff like that. So it was just kind of like taking whatever we can get, and then on the time periods where we could book a run that
Sure.
would require us to stay out for long periods of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and man, it's fucking tough. Like just doing it yourself, which is what we did. And you play a lot of some really cool gigs and a lot of like gigs that are just, man, we played like this, like it was in Jackson, Mississippi. Okay. And I got this gig because I just cold called this place.
Impressive.
And that's what I had to do, and what we did when we did this was just like, who's going to do this? No one? Well, I guess I'm going to do it. And my wife helped out a bunch too, but like there was a lot of like, when she was doing her makeup gigs and stuff, I was at home like just sending emails trying to keep things rolling, and I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
You're good. You cold called the place.
Yeah, okay. Jackson, Mississippi. Cold called the place, they were kind of like taken aback, like, why are you fucking calling here? And I'm like, I'm just doing bands. We're doop. Gave her this whole spiel. And turned out the guy running the bar and who booked us was, he lived in Nashville for a little bit, did some songwriting stuff. And, he was cool with it. And we booked this gig, and we got there, and this place was like an ice house. They had like a little rinky-dink shitty bar in the front with no air conditioning.
Good thing it's not hot in Mississippi.
God, dude. We were soaked at the end of that gig. Like, just sweating. Big giant fans on us. And so all the seats at the bar were old toilet seats, like
wow.
And behind the bar was just like, the only thing they had was just like troughs with ice and like PBR beer. No liquor, no nothing else. Like, the crowd there was rough, like old timers, like rough folks that like really didn't give fucking two shits about us.
You can't get a whiskey. You can't do a beer and a whiskey.
Dude, I asked the guy for a water and he just goes no, and I'm like thinking he's fucking with me, and I'm like, really? He's like, no, I'm not being a dick, but we just seriously don't have any water. It's just these beers in the trough. So like, I'm realizing this, like, I don't know if this is like a regular bar. You know what I mean? It just seems like they got this place in front of this distribution place, and a lot of locals come here and drink, and they kind of get do their thing. And and there's a fucking turtle in the bathroom of this place. Somebody caught a fucking turtle, and there was like a bathroom with a tub in the bathroom, mind you, and they just had the fucking turtle in the tub. And my wife went in to use the restroom, and she came out, and she's like, "There's a fucking turtle in that tub."
Is that where we get Little Tortuga?
No. But that's a whole different story.
Sure.
But like, so, and we play this gig. It's fucking sweating. And we end up, it was fine, some really old, gray-haired, drunk dude tried to put the moves on my wife, which,
sure.
She's no big deal, because she's...
Not the first time, probably not the last
she's
time.
very capable of, like, handling herself, and of course, if anybody got violent, that'd be a different story.
Right.
But, like, she's very much being like, nope, get the fuck away. We're out. And we left, and we actually stayed. We did, you ever hear of couchsurfing.com?
Not the site, but I'm familiar with...
Well, it's couch surfing, but it's like this social network of people who are couch surfers who like who they let people sleep on their couches, and they make friendships, and there's ratings and this whole social media thing. And like, I was like, we're not going to be able to afford hotels every night.
Right.
Like, I might as well utilize this and try and get some free places to stay out of it. And like, I just started messaging people. I used their rating system, first of all, because they have this rating system, and you got reviews from people who stayed with them and all these things. So I looked for the top people. Anyways, we were staying with someone from that site at that night, which it turned to be two Brazilian students, and the one guy, me and him sat on the back porch and like, smoked and drank and had wonderful conversation. It was a wonderful time, That's kind of some of the adventures you have,
Yeah.
And they turned out to be like wonderful human beings. But the next crazy part about this whole saga is like, I ended up being Facebook friends with that guy who booked the gig, the bartender.
Okay.
They even send me a couple, like, months, year, sometime later, get a random text message from him and some of the other people that were there that night wearing our shirt, being like, hey, we miss you guys, hope you come back through. Cool. And then eventually, this, like, news story pops on my feed from, like, someone posting it to this guy's page. So that's how, how the algorithm is just weird. Like,
yeah.
I'm not even connected to this woman, but she's friends with this guy that I randomly met who booked this gig, and we played at this place. Okay? Turns out this guy ends up murdering his girlfriend and getting arrested and put in jail.
The guy that texted you, we miss you guys, with the shirts?
Yeah, the guy who booked the gig. We made some like tour videos for YouTube. I was filming with my phone and all that. I have like footage of us playing pool with this dude. And my wife was talking about like hooking him up with her cousin and all this shit.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Super. And I saw this article and I was confused. I'm like, what is going on? Why do I see this? And I read the article and I realized it all clicked. I'm like, oh, this is the guy from Mississippi.
The ice house or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, and the article's about him. Oh, fuck, dude. He fucking killed his girlfriend.
Wow.
New Year's Eve, like.
Damn.
Yeah, and like. So, that's one of the adventures of like.
The road.
All in one fucking spot.
Yeah.
Like, we have this spectrum of like crazy killer to who was like a sweetheart and a gentleman when we were there,
Yeah.
I must say.
Yeah.
To
no water, turtle in the tub.
Turtle in the tub to these college kids from Brazil letting us stay at their house.
Yeah.
Like, man.
Wow.
It's fun.
That is.
It's fun.
So ScotchHollowMusic.com for news and tour dates. The Bandcamp to check out. The self-titled EP and Raging Bull and Little Tortuga. There's some merch. You guys are on Instagram for fresh content.
Yeah, we just had twins, so we're kind of there's not much going on right now.
Sure.
I mean, this podcast was like, what? You want us to be on a podcast? It was like, yeah, let's go do it.
Let's do something. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go out and do music stuff again.
Yeah.
But,
that's cool.
Right, like, I mean, 1-year-old twins is no joke.
No.
So
1-year-old child is no joke.
Right. And so we're doing the family thing right now.
Yeah.
And we're starting to, we want to book some more gigs. Like, we're going to get back to it
I feel like I saw a couple coming up and then a private thing.
Yeah. We had a couple, like, we still get some emails that come through of people who find us online and want us to play at their event or at this, club or whatever.
Yeah.
Or fundraiser.
Yeah.
So, but, like, we had my daughter, and we went through this process before. When we had my first daughter, we kind of buckled down and did all that, and then eventually, as she got older and things like that, we started booking more gigs, and also, actually, that was during the pandemic,
right?
And then one time, when it was starting to kind of die down a little bit, we played like one gig.
Okay.
And when we posted about that gig, like, a lot of people who used to book us and stuff like that they're like, oh, you're active now? So we have these gigs that we really want to get music back in here so we can actually start making some money again. So you really should come play.
We need you.
Yeah, and so it just kind of started, our gigs started coming back, and we started working and playing again. And it was more locally,
cool.
And now we're kind of in the same boat again, but some things are coming in, and I'm also trying to do some solo stuff as well.
Okay. Cool.
So,
well, I appreciate you being here. I want to dive into your list, but I want to take 5 real quick and hit the restroom and get a beverage. And
yeah, absolutely.
So thanks for the list. Some cool stuff on there. And I just usually like to roll through them chronologically. So, I think where we start is 1961 with King of the Delta Blues Singers, Robert Johnson. Is that right? 2 of 4 for him. 16 tracks, 43 minutes. It looks like almost all of his stuff was recorded in or around 1937.
Yep.
Which was the year before he died.
Yeah. He in the attic of like a furniture factory in Texas.
Really?
I believe so.
Okay. And then we the 50s and 60s and 70s and even as late as 1990 stuff is becoming available. I wonder, do you know why did it take so long? I mean, was the stuff just people didn't know it was around or wasn't in the right hands? What do you think?
You mean like this type of music?
Why is he recorded almost everything in 1937,
right? And
then stuff isn't out until the 50s, 60s, 70s. I mean, that's a minute for it to sit around.
Well, it was out during his lifetime. Like there were records that were released.
Okay, like all his singles.
Well, I'm not 100% sure. I know, like, I'm actually reading a book right now. So I know, like, so he recorded and like he told people about his recording, and there were people that like knew about that had copies of those recordings and things. But like they this was like the re-release of all of that stuff because there was a big like folk revival in the 60s and
okay.
So there was this period of these guys who were from 20s and 30s, and at this period in the 60s they weren't, a lot of them, some of them were still alive, and they went through this within the white college land. They became really into this type of music, and not just there, like this type of music cemented like the music for like the British invasion, and all of that. Like this music is what went over there and helped those people create their music.
Yeah.
And Robert Johnson, I could go on for hours. We could have like a whole conversation about him.
How does he wind up in your lap?
So, like I said, a lot of metal and stuff like that growing up. But you remember the movie "O Brother, Where Art Thou"?
Absolutely.
So that movie, for me, and I think a lot of people, like, kicked down the door of like, oh, this old music's pretty cool, right? And the character Tommy Johnson is based on Robert Johnson.
Oh, really?
Like, I sold my soul to the devil and all that stuff. That's the legends that surround him.
Okay.
And that was kind of the beginning of it, and that's I learned, my friend was like, he's based on a real guy, and my friend told me that like they were on a road trip and they found a cassette tape of probably this one.
Oh,
I'm assuming, I don't know.
Sure.
A cassette tape of Robert Johnson, and he was like, there's a real guy, Robert Johnson, who like my mom bought a tape of it and we were listening to it, and like he sounds like two guys at once, like
nice.
And then that was like the whole like, oh man, I'm super intrigued by that, and that was kind of the beginning of me getting into it, because that character in the movie was one of my favorite characters, and there's like a song that he sings under the tree during the campfire at night. It's called "Hard Time Killing Floor Blues," which is actually a Skip James song, but anyways, this is one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
Cool.
And I like that sort of thing. So once I found the connection between the real life to that character in the movie, like I just ate it up.
Nice.
And then when you listen to it, it's just amazing.
Well,
and just has this sound that like it's just him. You know what I mean? And then the more you read about him, you realize how much his influence stretches across the world. Like,
well, you said, stuff going overseas and British blues. And I remember seeing a quote lately where it was like a British musician, rock musician from the 70s or whatever, was asked about this very thing. And the answer was kind of like, well, I mean, if you guys don't give a shit about it, we'll check it out. And then, fast forward to many years later, you get folks saying things like Led Zeppelin is a ripoff of X artist and Y artist and so on and so forth, which is whatever. I mean,
that's a discussion to be had. Yeah,
influences, are sometimes audible or visible or palpable.
Oh yeah,
and it doesn't necessarily mean that you're maliciously like, yeah, we're gonna get rich off of your work.
Technically, Led Zeppelin did get sued successfely by Willie Dixon.
Yep.
Who wrote a lot of the songs for Chess Records and for Muddy Waters and Little Walter, and I don't know if he wrote any of the Chuck Berry songs or not.
Well, the one that is pertinent to this conversation is Traveling Riverside Blues,
which is a
Robert Johnson song.
Yeah.
We get Traveling Riverside and Hey Hey What Can I Do with the release of the Zeppelin box set in the 90s. Scale of 1 to 10. How much, when you listen to Robert Johnson's Traveling Riverside and Led Zeppelin's, how much are you like, yeah, that's the same song?
So that's like, how do I answer that? No, like
scale of 1 to 10.
So like, I would say, let's just for right now, let's say 5.
Okay,
because
nice and handsome, right in the middle there.
Because like they're obviously two different sounds, two completely, but the structure is there,
without question.
Like the blues structure, like the chord progression and stuff is there. The lick that Jimmy Page is doing is very reminiscent. So like, so that sound they produced is unique, I believe, and but like, if you know and listen to Robert Johnson, the Robert Johnsons, the Sun Houses, Blind Willie McTell, Blind Willie Johnson, all those dudes, like, you can hear it in that song. You're like, oh, you can tell where it came from. Chicago Blues, Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf. Like, you can hear it. Like, there's no doubt about it.
Right.
And, like, you can hear even that lick that we just sung, both of us.
In impressive timing, I might add.
It like, it has a unique sound, but it uses those elements to create it. And so... And of course, Robert Plant kind of sings his own way. He put his spin on it, and which is fine. It sounded good. I like their version of it. And
I wonder if you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, I mean, fucking dude, squeeze my lemon,
right?
The juice runs down my leg.
Exactly.
It's like the best line. Especially when you sing it to your wife, and they get mad.
Yeah.
just
yeah. That's good stuff, though. So, just a few years down the road from that is self-titled Doc Watson. First of 30 for him. 13 tracks, 35 minutes. I'm always a little bit embarrassed or apprehensive to say this because I know that everybody's path is different musically, right? But I mean, there's across 116 episodes, and each person has X number of records on the list. There's lots of stuff that I've never intentionally sat down and listened to. Mm-hmm. Like I've heard a bunch of Cure records or songs. I've never sat down and listened to a Cure record until it appears on, because that's just not my...
Right.
Anyway, I've never intentionally sat down and listened to Doc Watson prior to this, and what a freaking treat.
Oh, dude, he is...
Holy smokes.
Oh, man, I love that man. I love that man's music. Like, he is a treasure. Of the many American musicians, Robert Johnson was a treasure. Doc Watson was also a treasure, especially, he was from North Carolina.
Yeah.
And they have a whole festival dedicated to his son and him, because his son died in a tractor accident. He used to play music with him, and there's a whole big story there. But
which was news to me. I was like, God damn.
Oh yeah. To give you a little idea of how culturally his impact. Where I work now, I had coworkers from North Carolina. And I was like, oh, you listen to Doc Watson? Oh yeah. Right away. And that's just part of the soundscape of where we grew up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you're a guitar player, especially, and you play any type of finger style, like old blues and country and stuff like that, you gotta listen to him.
Yeah. I mean, I knew enough to know that he's revered, right? I didn't know what kind of pickwork I was going to get into. I was like, golly.
Well, here's the other thing about him too that I don't think people realize is if it's he's either the one who's responsible or partially responsible for flat like bluegrass flat picking.
I mean, yeah,
He's the guy that like started doing it.
I can connect those dots.
Right, because you get some of his songs he finger picks, but other songs he flat picks. And I guess the story goes, from what I understand, is one, he was blind. He was blinded from a very young age, and I guess he was given, I think, from his father, a guitar, and like said, this is what you can do, because you can't go work in
The factory.
in the factory or the mine or wherever, but you can do this, and that's how he started playing guitar. Fast forward to my point is, the story goes they were playing in his group. They didn't have a fiddle player to play the lead line, like in some of these old traditional like mountain songs, bluegrassy songs. And he just said, "I'll do it on the guitar." And
they're like, good one.
and I think that's how it like started, right? Is he just that circumstance, and he was like, "I will fill that void because this opportunity has presented itself." And now we have, dude, so many flat pickers around the world. Like that style of guitar playing is just, it's huge.
Yeah.
There's so many people that devote their lives to playing like that.
Yeah.
And it's a staple and a sound of like our part of this little planet.
Yeah. Well, I've said this a million times, but I think it always is worth repeating. I tried to throw kudos in your direction for, hopefully it landed. The fact that at a young age, at your when it took you a year to learn that one piece, and you're like, I'm gonna fucking practice every night. I didn't have that. I got myself a guitar. I took some lessons, but I didn't have that. And it follows me in some avenues that I still identify. Oh yeah, it's because I don't have anyway. But I played enough to learn some chords. I have an okay ear. What I never was able to see, probably because I didn't put in the hours, where is the time gonna come where I can play and sing at the same time? Because that's a different skill set and talent level. So,
Which I resisted for a very long time.
Because it's terrifying. Yep. I mean, so whether you're talking finger picking, flat picking, straight up strumming, whatever, if you can do any of those and also sing, your next level. And he's like doing it with like joy in the story that he's telling, and some little bits of humor.
Right. Yeah,
and I'm like, this is amazing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah,
super
man.
Cool.
He's I would say like music royalty, like American music royalty in his little area. Like for me at least, like you got like the Louis Armstrongs and the Ella Fitzgeralds and all those people, and then you got the Bessie Smiths and folks from that era, and you got all these different musicians from different parts of the country doing different things who made huge impacts on just music in general. And he's one of them.
Yeah. Without question.
And
thank you for letting me know that, because the name's familiar, like Doc Watson, sure. But, I mean, if we're not doing this, I don't know like that.
Right, yeah. And I'm really glad you enjoy it that much. Like, it makes me really happy to like pass this along to someone who likes it. You know, it's I don't know how to say it. Like,
Well, I knew I had I don't know which I had, but I mean, I was a cassette guy. You
yeah,
tried and true. Somewhere along the mix, I had maybe a dual Robert Johnson. So I
yeah,
had some familiarity. Blood Sugar Sex Magic, which we've touched on and is up next. You have to be pretty ignorant to not ever cross paths with that, right?
right, right.
As a Gen X kid that grew up with FM radio and tapes, and even metal, like I've that's never been my jam, but I've been around people and known people. I've listened to
Right.
anyway. So it's just sort of an immeasurable level of gratitude where
Right.
I go, man,
Right.
maybe it never happens. Maybe I go my whole life and I don't ever listen to a Doc Watson record. But I anyway.
I mean, you don't know if you don't know.
Exactly. So, 1991, 5th of 13 for the Chili Peppers. We started in Mississippi, where the Ice House gig with the
Yeah.
Turtle was.
Yeah.
Robert Johnson, Mississippi, North Carolina, like you mentioned, Doc Watson. Now we're out to L.A.
Yeah.
For 17 tracks, 73 minutes, and it closes with the Robert Johnson.
It does close with the Robert Johnson song. Like I said, man, dude, I could go on the whole thing, but his influence is it's everywhere. It's immeasurable. Like, and it's not like, and it's from a man who grew up in a black American who grew up in a very racist time, in a time period,
but probably part
in
of
a
why.
very racist place.
Yeah.
Where, like, you know, they're not getting their credit where credit is due.
Or the shit's taken 20 years to be released as a
But despite
collection.
like this guy who just went to an attic in Texas and recorded this music and came back and played around this area and eventually got murdered. And his music just never stopped. Like, he wasn't it wasn't like Taylor Swift with this giant production and tour vans and big rigs full of production equipment and all these things. It's just the dude playing his guitar, being in an environment where it's hostile to his fucking health. You know what I mean?
I mean, most of the song titles, at least on that record, and ergo song subjects,
right,
have the word blues,
right,
and oftentimes there's a river.
right.
Like, so it's just like a little bit of nature and your thoughts.
Right.
I mean, and
Right.
Are there a bunch of other places where you can go?
I mean,
Maybe not.
I don't know.
And have concern for your safety and
No,
nobody's gonna fuck with me.
Like that. I mean, that is something that, like, we can never fully understand.
No.
You know, but, like, I can still, like, it's just like all those things. The music is still going, and the influence that it has and still continues to have. Because, like, here I am talking to you. Not that I'm anything special out there, but there's fucking Chili Peppers album we're talking about has a Robert Johnson song on. There are still people recording his songs. You know what I mean? And playing them.
So this one's Rick Rubin produced.
Yes.
Sorry,
you're talking about Chili Peppers.
You're good. You've already dipped your foot in the Chili Pepper waters because of the sticker. So you know some of their earlier stuff, which I won't say is necessarily rare, but it kind of is if you meet somebody who knows, like, the old school back catalog of the Chili Pepper stuff and not post this or starting with this record.
Right.
So what are your thoughts on Anthony Kiedis?
Man, I mean, I think he's a beautiful human being who has his flaws, and he's been through the ringer
Sure.
with his own demons.
How about his character in Point Break?
Dude, I don't even think I've seen that movie.
Blasphemy. Oh my God. Keanu Reeves, Gary Busey.
Dude, that was one of the movies that I was not allowed to watch.
Oh, you have to immediately.
And just so I had no idea he was in it.
So Keanu and Gary Busey are undercover cops trying to bust this ring of bank robberies. And so Gary Busey's theory is that they're surfers. So Keanu's got to learn how to surf to get in tight.
Right.
And there's a scene where he's showering on the beach, just rinsing himself off after a surf. And all of a sudden the water turns off and it's like Anthony Kiedis and like this crew. And he's like, oh, it's about to be on, and it's a fucking...
Really?
And Anthony Kiedis is like, Keanu goes, I get it. This is where you tell me how I should, this is your lay of the land and I should take myself elsewhere. And Kiedis is like, no, that would be a waste of time. We're just going to fuck you up. It's like that's how I feel he is in the band. And then he has this brief cameo. I'm like, oh my God, it's fucking wild.
Yeah, man.
Great movie though.
I gotta go watch that now to see. Man, like, his words and his music have like just been part of my life. Like I said before, like this album and their back catalog made me realize I love music. Like,
so did you stay tuned in with them after this one?
A little bit,
yeah. They put something out in 2022, I think.
Yeah, actually, some of their recent stuff they just put out got me listening to them again.
Okay.
They've done a few like old school funky sounding tracks that are good.
So what about Californication?
So that for me was like that was the beginning of the end for me. That had there's some really good stuff on there.
There is.
But it was right where like you could tell the old Chili Peppers was still there, but the new Chili Peppers was coming in. And then By the Way was when I kind of just, I don't know, I didn't
You're into other shit, perhaps.
Well, like I loved Chili Peppers, man, but like it just wasn't the Chili Peppers that I loved.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And
that happens.
Yeah, and they did they're human beings.
Our task as fans is to say that doesn't devalue the love that I have and had for this stuff up until today, right?
Yeah, no.
You don't have to stick with a band until the bitter end to call yourself,
Oh, absolutely. And, like, it just is what it is, man. They're gonna write what they feel, and they're people, and they're gonna get older and grow and change, and they're not always gonna be that person who is writing that music, because like music comes from people, right?
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're into the whole AI thing, which
not yet. Not yet.
I don't. We can debate whether or not. I don't know.
I don't know that I'll ever...
You can like formulaically like plug shit in and it will spit shit out, but like, I don't feel like it may trick us into feeling like it seems like that, but like you're not gonna get. There's something about the human spirit.
Yeah, my passion is writing.
Yeah,
and like I know that it is easily accessible to be like, give me 6,000 words on the carpentry style used to build Robert Johnson's attic, and and that what no, we have to put your butt in the chair and pound out the hours and edit and sweat and lose sleep and
and maybe you could use that stuff as a tool for inspiration or whatever, like somehow use it to bounce off of, to use your own creativity, like. But yeah, I have mixed feelings because there's lots of good applications for AI, but like when it comes to art, like it's almost, I don't know. Like, I don't want to sound like mean or a dick or anything, but like, it's almost kind of appalling.
Yeah.
Like, who the fuck do you think you are,
Yeah.
man? Like, you go and you make your computer programs, and which is very impressive. Don't get me wrong. Not trying to,
Right.
because I'm a software engineer too. So don't get me wrong. But like, you think you can just like replace a basic like part of humanity? Like, I don't know if I'm saying that the right way, but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
music comes from something deep down inside human beings.
Yeah.
And that place that it comes from affects animals and plants too.
Yeah.
Like, it's something special. I don't know what it is, but it's obviously something special, and it has this capacity to unite us all, and just like it brings us to a place where we're one thing.
Sure. Absolutely.
And
It's like, I mean, it's like a sense.
how can you, like, I don't know. I don't know if you can just plug that into an algorithm and then that comes out.
I mean, I don't know. But interesting that Delta Blues, we started in 61, and then we leaped to 64, and then we're in 91, and now we leap to 94, and Far Beyond Driven.
Yeah.
Pantera.
Yeah, I had to put it.
This blew me away. 7th of 9. I didn't realize that 1994 was so deep into their library. 12 tracks, 56 minutes. Metal, I mean, is kind of in the beginning there with your buddy in the basement and the band
and I had to like put at least a little bit of metal on that list. And Pantera, like Dimebag Darrell, was like one of the reasons I want to play guitar. Like, not necessarily like sound exactly like him, but like when I was younger, like listening to him solo, I was like, that is so fucking badass that I want to be that badass.
Now,
like, I want to do something. Like, I don't necessarily want to be you, but like I want to be badass and like you and do my thing and just like I want to have a smile on my face like you do while you just fucking kick ass.
Yeah.
You know.
So does one get the nickname Dimebag because you're all guaranteed to always have one, or you're always trying to Jones off of somebody else's?
His original name was Diamond Darrell, because if you go into the way back log of Pantera, they were like a kind of a 80s kind of glam band.
Interesting.
Before there was a singer before Phil Anselmo joined. And then Phil Anselmo, I believe, was on like one, it's called Power Metal, which is right before Cowboys from Hell.
Okay.
And so during that time period, he was originally called Diamond Darrell.
Interesting.
And then it got changed to Dimebag. I don't know why.
You're not Diamond Darrell, man. You're Dimebag Darrell.
I mean, because like there was a point like the band like shifted like after Cowboys from Hell. Like Cowboys from Hell seemed to be like the transition from the early to the new sound. Like Californication was,
Yeah. Nice.
And then Vulgar Display of Power came out, and that's the Pantera that like we know. Walk This Love, all the like that sound, that groovy, heavy sound. And
well, these cats are out of Arlington, Texas. 20 million records worldwide, and credited as the second wave of the thrash metal scene, late 80s, early 90s. Other favorites, other metal favorites from this same time?
I mean, Slayer, of course. And let me see. Sepultura. I love Sepultura. God, what else? I'm drawing blanks right now.
That's cool.
There's a lot of them, but like some of the Pantera and Slayer and Sepultura were three big ones that I liked. Eventually Slipknot.
Nice.
The early Slipknot stuff. Oh God, I'm drawing blanks right now. But
It's all good.
I've seen a lot of metal.
Yeah.
There was a point I started like 15 or 16. My friend's stepdad took a bunch of us to Ozfest
In PA?
in Pittsburgh, yeah.
Okay.
And that started off like a tradition that we went to Ozfest every year for like a good 4 or 5 years straight. And it started off with him taking us down, and then it turned into me driving down because once I got my license and drove.
Sure.
And so we saw a lot of bands there. But yeah. I'm trying to think.
I mean, Pantera has always been just a little tick above a lot of their peers, intelligence-wise. At least, kind of the reputation. Like these are smart.
They're fucking crazy.
Yeah. Well,
they like the party.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of the appeal, is they were like, these crazy guys that party all the time and make metal, and
yeah.
It's like that was some of the appeal. But I also like some songs are just about self perseverance and
Sure.
having self inner strength and stuff like that.
Nice.
Which at certain periods of my life, that's what I needed to hear.
Absolutely. Well, great list. I appreciate it. I like to wrap with a series of goofy questions and get you out of here. So the first is, you get to have lunch with anyone of your choosing, dead or alive. Who is it and why?
Oh, fuck, man. Dude, how do I answer that question? I mean, I don't know. It's like making my brain jumble because I'm
Too many to choose from,
I
or
mean,
first one off the top. Doesn't have to be.
I mean, maybe Robert Johnson.
Okay. Perfect.
Just I don't know, Chili Peppers and Pantera and that stuff. I love them all, but they are at points farther along the evolution of American music.
Yeah. Yeah.
Robert Johnson is right around the beginning, a little bit after.
Sure.
If you want to
an important step in the progression, for sure.
Right. Well, there was minstrel music, which was super racist, but
minstrel.
Yeah,
okay.
But then there's a lot of songs that were more that weren't super racist, but you recognize them.
Huh.
You ever watch old Bugs Bunny cartoons?
Yeah.
Oh, Susanna, don't you cry for me.
Yeah.
Da-da-da, a bunch of gold, V for Vic. That's an old minstrel song.
Gotcha.
Those kind of old goofy. And it was if I'm getting the history correct, it was considered one of the first unique American musics.
Genres.
Yeah.
Pockets.
But like I said, there's some troubled history with it, but it still, it still did its thing.
Yeah.
And had its time.
Yeah. It's part of the fabric.
But the blues is the bedrock.
Yeah.
Of it all. It really is. I mean, and it's influence from, so even jazz is based on blues.
Okay.
It's, if you kind of read about the history of it kind of came out of that format. Even country has huge blues influence. Just a huge, the African American influence upon music is immense.
Yeah.
And that type of, like, the blues type of music, like, for example, Hank Williams is like one of the quote unquote biggest names in country music. Who, you know, he was, but
Right.
like historically speaking in the genre, he's like one of the granddaddies of the whole damn thing, right?
Hank Senior.
Yeah,
Yes.
Hank Senior.
Yes.
Hank Senior. Yeah, and he learned, you know, from what I've read, it said he wanted to learn to play the blues, and he learned from a black man named T-Tot.
Okay.
And there's stories like that all over the place. Like, so and the banjo originally came from Africa.
I remember it never even occurred to me to listen to Hank Williams because the only thing I had was Monday Night Football from Junior, and then like one day somebody's like, no, you got it, and it was the same like Doc Watson. I was like, oh shit!
Oh yeah, man,
this is incredible.
He's another musical like giant that made American music
royalty.
Yeah,
would you say?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah,
yeah,
and but point being is like the blues has its hand in everything.
Yes.
And it's basically what I'm saying, and like. I'd want to talk to Robert Johnson, just be like, man, I don't know. I would probably just fucking freak him out. Be like, dude,
that guy's weird.
Do you even know what the fuck you did? Yeah. Like, how'd you do it? What blah, blah, blah. And he'd be like, fucking,
yeah.
I'm going to get out of here.
Right. So if we can imagine that all of us somewhere in some form have a personal and a professional bucket list. Let's say you're given all the resources necessary to hammer out number one on each of those for you. Mark Verbeck, what are they?
Personal and professional bucket list.
Number one, the top of each of those lists, or both of those lists.
Shit.
And sometimes they wind up being one and the same, you know?
Yeah. In my older age, I've gotten more curmudgeon-y and grumpy. So it's like when I think of that answer, I'm like, you want me to tell you some bullshit? No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, I don't know.
But for real, I mean, at this point in my life, like I always wanted to like win a Grammy, but that's probably not going to happen. But like, I just like want to make music and play music in whatever capacity. I would, at this point, also I have kids. My top priority is raising my kids, and everything revolves around that. So like, maybe someday, but I'm not trying to really go tour again
tomorrow.
Like that.
Okay.
But maybe someday, but like, maybe locally in a, Kansas City type of capacity.
Sure.
Still going to play.
Sure.
And I guess like my bucket list would be to just write some music that people like, and it's still here when I'm gone.
Hey, it doesn't get any more perfect than that. And don't discard that Grammy thing.
I guess that would, like, now that I think about it, and I just had like a little moment of clarity, like, yeah, I've always been about writing music that move people, because that's been like always been my thing when I listen to various types of music, but it's just like, man, how cool would it be to be someone who wrote that music? Like, how powerful and how, like, because dude, like, back to the Robert Johnson thing, it just always gives me the chills of like, dude, like, you've been fucking gonna be close to 100 years next decade, and like, it is still moving people. Like, his spirit is still moving people.
Yeah,
it's incredible, and has nothing to do with the money backing him, or the glitz and the glamour and the fireworks and the show.
Sure.
Not that that's bad stuff.
Right.
That's its own little thing, and it's very talented people in that thing. But for this particular example, is like none of that, and it's just this force that keeps going, and it's not like it's like foundational. It's like in the molecules and the atoms of fucking
sure
music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's so much deeper than just some. I mean, maybe I don't know. Probably further down. I think at this point, Taylor Swift would definitely go down in music history for what she's accomplished.
But it'd be weird if she didn't.
Right, but like, so I don't want to like. I don't know. Like, I don't know how to like verbalize what I'm trying to say. There's just this.
I'm with you.
There's this thing that is beyond all of the fucking money and production and advertising, all of that.
Yeah.
Like, there's just something about his music that it just rises above it all.
Yeah.
And, it's still here doing its thing, and like, yeah, I digress.
I feel you. You're given the ability to visit your past self, any age you're choosing. What age are you choosing, and what are you saying?
Oh, fuck, man. I don't know. I would, it's a hard thing. Because, like, part of me I would want to sit and think about, some point in my life where I should go back and be like, do this differently.
Yeah, but some people are like, buy stock in Apple.
Yeah. Or, like, there's a lot of, places where I could think about. But then there's also, like, right now where I'm at, like, I have my wife and my children. And we, like, they're the most important thing. The value, like, in the most important and valuable and loving and all that stuff, they're the most important thing. And I got to them by the path I took, right? And maybe I wouldn't go back and say anything. Maybe I would just be like, you gotta deal with your shit because it puts you here.
Yes.
And like you see those little kids that you love so much, like it's something bigger than like our puny human plans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a bigger thing that I can't articulate, but like all the good and the bad and the choices put me right there hanging out with
I love it.
Those little dinkers. So I guess that's my answer. Maybe I wouldn't say anything.
Perfect.
Because there's plenty that I could talk about I should do differently, and yeah, I made this mistake and that mistake, but like I wouldn't be right here.
No, I know. And sometimes folks say just everything's going to be fine. Just keep doing you. Everything's going to be... Anyway.
Yeah. Like the whole Ram Dass thing. Everything's perfect already.
Complete this for me, please. The world would immediately become a better place in which to live, if only.
Oh, man. How do I answer that? Like, empathy? More... Like, I think... This is my opinion. Like the kind of stereotypical cheesy like love is the answer, man. Like it is. Like
I don't dislike that.
Like first you need to like actually like be an adult and understand, not that I understand or anyone really understands, but try and grasp the immense complexity that is love.
Yeah.
Because it's not just fucking
Valentine's
Disney
Day. Yeah,
and Valentine's Day. it's wiping shit off of butts.
Yeah.
You know, and like
Yeah.
a variety of different things.
Yeah.
It's fucking, you know.
I picture the image on the cork board behind a restaurant register, and
Right.
it says there's like 8 or 9 paid for receipts.
Right.
If you need food and you can have one of these. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
you know,
Yeah, yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, it's so, and just this kind of realization that I feel this is kind of my personal, like, philosophical beliefs, I guess. And, they are what they are. I'm not running for president. They're trying to write laws.
Not this term. Maybe next.
Yeah, next term. Yeah. But, like, I don't know. I don't believe, like, I'm more of an agnostic person, and I believe that everybody is kind of full of it to a certain degree.
Sure.
Like, and there is something about the human spirit that is, I don't know. Like, it's something that, like, we all have, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That, like, if you sit down and you meditate and you're able to silence your thoughts for even a second.
No small task.
No small task, but like all you're left with is like that awareness, right? And all the other stuff is just there, but that awareness is everywhere. That's the basis.
Into those molecules where the music also lives.
Right.
That you were talking
like,
about.
That's like, I feel like you can't get behind that, and I feel like that's in all of us. You know what I mean? And it's not. It doesn't matter. It's not about like all the different issues that we have today. Although I'm not downplaying any real issues that people in the world face, especially issues that we have in America.
Yeah.
I don't want to downplay any of that, but there is that part of humans that are beyond all of that, and I feel like. If we connected with that a little bit more and sort of realized that, even like, not even on some like wacky spiritual level, just an acknowledgement of like that which is in me is also in you.
Yeah.
We might treat each other differently.
Hopefully we would.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like,
not a whole lot available in the direction of treating each other worse. Like we've checked a lot of those boxes.
Right. And I mean, I feel like trying to like remember that and harness that empathy and try and lead your life. And I am not perfect at this at all. But try and lead your life with some sort of love in a way, not like hate and all those other things.
Yeah.
And just like have the capacity to, I mean, at this point in what our situation and, as a country is, like, have the fucking capacity to, like, at least listen to your fellow fucking countrymen and women.
Yeah.
And listen to what they're dealing with.
Yeah.
And be able to say, man, that thing which in me that is also in you would really fucking hate that.
Yeah.
So...
Right.
I can see how you probably really fucking hate that.
Yeah.
So maybe like, I don't want to feel like that. So maybe you probably shouldn't feel like that either.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm making a really complex thing really sound really simple. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's it. A little bit more empathy. A little bit of.
It's perfect.
I don't know.
Okay. True or false? It's okay and acceptable to wear the t-shirt of the band whose show you're going to.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Represent.
I fucking wear my own band's t-shirt.
Like,
This is what I say when people are like, "Oh man, you're wearing your own T-shirt," and I'm like, "Bitch, if you spend all your money on fucking merchandise because you're poor, you'd take one too."
yeah, exactly. ScotchHollowMusic.com. Find Scotch Hollow on Bandcamp, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you stream. I really appreciate you doing this, man.
Hey, no problem.
It's
And
nice to meet you.
if I may plug one thing,
Please
Two
plug.
things.
Yes, plug away.
I have one site. It's called tater-tot.net, which is kind of my solo stuff.
That's right. Thank you. Tater-tot.
Tater-tot.net.
One more time.
Tater-tot.net.
Thank you. I don't want to screw it up a second
That's all
time.
right. And that's kind of like my loop pedal solo.
Oh, fun.
Very influenced by old Chili Pepper
Okay.
stuff. I recorded a single and I got it on streaming services, but if you go to that site, you can either play it on that site, you can download it for free if you want to get the actual file, or you can go to Spotify and all the streaming stuff. And then the last thing is I built like a music education app. It's like a free web application.
Okay, Mr. Code Writer. All right.
It's called easytune.net. The letter Z, tune, TUNE.net, easytune.net, and it's basically right now primarily for guitar and bass and other stringed instruments, but you can build your own tunings, or there's some preset tunings, but you can choose a tuning and then choose a scale or a chord, and it'll show you how that maps out in whatever tuning you want.
Wow.
So you can use it in standard tuning just for someone who's learning, or a teacher can also use this. Or if you're someone who's like, I've learned in standard tuning my whole life, but now I want to, play in open D, or I made up this cool tuning. How do I play, a minor scale or a major scale in this tuning? You can build your tuning out, plug in the key and the scale, and then it'll spit it out and it'll map out the neck, and you can learn from it.
Easy.
Easytune.net.
Easytune.net.
Yes.
Very cool.
So yeah, thank you for that.
Absolutely. Mark Verbeck, thank you for being here. Look forward to talking to you soon, and appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Thank you.